Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and this is my opinion. So, almost completely out of nowhere, CD Projekt Red decided that today, or I guess yesterday as this goes up, they were going to put up a gameplay demo of Cyberpunk 2077. I believe this is the same one they showed the press both at Gamescom and E3, but I do not know that for certain. I don't know if the Gamescom one was any different or not, but it was 48 minutes of gameplay, and I will link to it down below because I definitely think everyone needs to look at it because this looked so much more impressive than I really thought it was going to in some ways, but also it doesn't look like it's that far off in terms of like it being a next-gen game necessarily. Like what they showed here essentially looked like it could potentially run on a current gen system if some things were downscaled, and it definitely could probably run on current PCs no problem. It was it's not like the character models or the general graphics are really that like amazing or anything. It looks about Witcher 3 level, maybe a little bit better than that, but the difference is that there's so many characters that are highly detailed on the screen with so many different things going on, because this is like a real bustling city where this game takes place. So that was really cool and very impressive to see. I definitely think it's possible that this might end up being a current gen game and we might actually get it. I'm going to say I doubt 2019, but possibly an early 2020 game. Maybe in May when Witcher 3 came out. Maybe later, but you know, we'll see what happens. But it definitely graphically was not like a next generation kind of thing from what I was expecting in terms of like the raw character models and stuff like that. It could always still be a cross-gen game or something like that, but that remains to be seen. And since we have no idea what the specs are looking like for next gen, well, yeah, this is what we got. The demo itself was very long. I don't have time to go over every main thing, but I did want to dive into a couple things. The whole thing, the whole 48 minutes is essentially one quest. And what they showed is how multiple like little mini objectives within the quest like all can interlink together if you want them to, and how you really define how that quest goes. So one of the things that they showed was you can meet this agent of a corporation, and corporations run the city, and essentially they have all the power, and if you meet this person, they will give you a credit chip, and then you take that to buy this thing from this other guy that this other person that you're working for wants you to buy. But they said essentially you can completely skip that if you want to. You don't have to do that, and the whole situation can change, and you have varying different options on how you accomplish each quest and how you want to do it. It's freedom of gameplay within a story and narrative-driven experience, which is really cool. Most games like have an illusion of choice. Like I love a lot of BioWare games, but there is no joke that they are generally very linear, but they give you aspects to make them feel like you are making choices that ultimately don't really impact the story or the game, whereas this feels like real, potentially at least real choice. This game is still very early. They stressed that like 9 or 10 times throughout the 48 minutes that this is early in development. You know, if things change, please don't yell at us, because that's what people did for them at Witcher 3. So that was really interesting in general, just because it didn't look far along. There's like a lot of like audio things that popped up. There was a pop-in and graphics, stuff like that, but the concept of what seems to be like the core general gameplay looks absolutely great. They showed a lot of the combat too, especially towards the end, showing off near the very end. You see various abilities that you can have towards the end game, including where you can actually hack in to people's weapon systems and like their connection to weapons and prevent them from actually using them. And then like you can have these like blade arm things that looked really cool. It was definitely a first-person shooter. Combat-wise, I could almost see like a Deus Ex feel, where it seems like you have multiple ways of taking down targets, but it feels like an evolution, essentially, of what Deus Ex was trying to do with the various mods you can have and stuff like that. They showed one of the cool things they did was a weapon mod where essentially you have this upgrade for your gun, and it actually shows the ricochets, and you can use that as a way to aim. So like if you see a guy around a corner, you can aim at like a part of the wall, and then you'll actually get to see a line showing how the bullets will ricochet and know if you can hit them or not with the ricochets. Stuff like that, that's very cool. So that was some really interesting ways of not just making your own character more powerful, but also your weapons as well. And not just like, hey, here's +5 damage. No, here's a mod that completely changes how you actually can use a gun. One of the other guns they showed off too, which was really cool, was this shotgun, where you basically have like an alternate fire, it seems like, where you can like charge a shot and it'll actually go through walls. And so like you are like aiming down the sights and the guy's hiding behind cover, and you just shoot through the wall and hit him, or the spread is so powerful it goes through the wall and hits the guy. Like either way, it was really cool. And then they showed one gun which they called a smart gun, which essentially is when you fire it, this little square box came up, or rectangle even, came up on the HUD, and if you were firing at something within that area, it doesn't matter if you were actually firing at that like person directly like on them, the bullets would track them down and hit them. So what they showed is like some guy was behind like a wall or something, and they were firing, and then it was going to the side and then hitting them from behind or from the side where they didn't have cover. And they ended it with a really cool boss battle where it showed various elements of play. The first thing they showed was like you scan the boss and you can tell its weaknesses. It's not like, hey, shoot here for more damage. It's, hey, here are the weak points to bring down its shields, so then you can do damage. So it was less of like shoot the red spot on the target to kill the target faster. It was more like, here's how you bring down the shields, and then that's how you can actually deal damage to the actual boss. And it was more like a mini boss, I guess you could say. It didn't seem like a full-on big huge encounter, but they showed a lot of cool things, including just the character just knowing where shots were coming and dodging like actually like really close, and then using the shotgun to break its shields and then finish it off. Like, very cool gameplay. I was very impressed by how much of the tech seemed really well thought out in this world, and how various elements really fit together and made it work a lot better than I thought something like Deus Ex did, which felt sort of half there and half not in the more modern Deus Ex games. It definitely is leaning in hard on like the cybernetic person kind of thing. Like they were even talking about one of the groups on there, they are trying to become essentially robots, and like you see these guys where they don't have eyes or anything anymore, they just have these like laser looking like camera things on their faces, and like this one guy had his face like caved in. It was really cool looking. And they have this deal that goes down, which is how this last final encounter started, where essentially you get this, they had this chip from the corporation person, and they give it to them, and then you're at a standoff for a moment. They put the chip in to get their money, but it's a booby trap, and it like hacks into their systems, and one guy like gets fried just because he's connected to the network or something. And then there was another thing that was really cool too. You have like this little cable or something that's like in your wrist, and like you can pull it out, and you can like, after you knock somebody out, you can plug it into them and then like hack into the person, and then it was showing you how you can essentially see the network they themselves are connected to. So like people themselves are connected to these networks, like where they work and stuff like that. It was really interesting. I think my main takeaway from this is like this is a very well thought out world, and the gameplay backs that up, which is something that I don't think a lot of games always do, especially sci-fi games. Sometimes the sci-fi elements, like to the combat or to the gameplay, can feel like they don't feel futuristic, whereas this did. This felt like something like, if this was the world that you are actually in, this does make sense. This is the tech you're using, which is something I think that they did really well with Witcher as well, where the gameplay in The Witcher felt very natural to the world you were in, which is something CD Projekt Red has just done insanely well for themselves with that. So I'm hyped. I don't want to say much more than that. Like, they showed a lot more than that. They showed various different things, and they were talking about how this is just one quest. This whole big 48-minute thing, this is just one quest of a much bigger experience and how everything can change and there will be repercussions depending on the choices you make and stuff like that. And I really love that, and I am very much looking forward to this game where it was kind of waiting on it to see really what it was going to be about. And now I'm really hyped for it. Now it remains to be seen how long it'll take for them to actually get the game out, but, here's hoping that it's more further along than we think it is, because this certainly showed that the foundations are definitely there, and there is certainly a core thing of gameplay here to look forward to, even if not everything ends up being in the game itself. Anyway, I'm Novel Mike, that was my opinion. Thank you very much for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.